Welcome everyone. Today's video is not just a story. It's a truth many people never face. We live in a world full of noise. Everywhere you look, someone is showing off their success. Someone is richer. Someone is prettier. Someone has better marks, a better phone, a better body, a better life. And slowly, without even noticing, you start comparing. You compare your journey with their highlight. You compare your pain with their smile. You compare your timing with their results. And one day, you forget your own value. You forget that you were never born to compete. You were born to become. Today, I want to tell you the story of a boy who forgot that. A boy who believed everyone was ahead, except him. This is not just his story. This is your story too. If you've ever felt like you're not good enough, so listen till the very end. Because this story will teach you something that no school, no book, and no person may ever tell you. And yes, it will also improve your English. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Part 1. The boy who couldn't stop comparing. His name was Ethan, 17 years old, second year of high school. Skinny, quiet, not the smartest, not the funniest, just there. That's how he felt. He wasn't doing terribly, but when he looked around, everyone else seemed better. Liam, the class topper, always got full marks. Ethan studied hard too, but never topped. Liam didn't even look tired. He made it look easy. Chris had a perfect jawline, muscles, new sneakers, and a girlfriend. Ethan wore the same 2 shirts every week. No girl ever texted him first. Mason had followers, fame, parties, and selfies with celebrities. Ethan had 3 friends and 1 cracked phone. And Sophia. Sophia was the girl he liked. But she liked boys like Liam and Chris, not boys like Ethan. So he told himself every night, I'm not enough. And in the morning, he wore that feeling like a uniform. At first, it was just thoughts. But soon, it became behavior. He stopped trying in class. What's the point? Liam always wins. He stopped going out with friends. What's the point? Everyone has someone. I have no one. He stopped taking care of himself. Why bother? I'm not like them. He would scroll through social media for hours, liking pictures of other people's happiness, while quietly hating his own reflection. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't broken. He was just tired. Tired of never feeling like he was good enough. His parents thought he was fine. He didn't cry in front of them. He didn't scream. He didn't ask for help. He just smiled and said, I'm okay. But in his mind, he was drowning. At dinner, they would ask about school. He would nod. Inside, he was thinking, what if I disappear? Would anyone even care? Because when you compare yourself to everyone, you start believing that your own life doesn't matter. Ethan's biggest problem wasn't that others were doing well. It was that he believed their success meant his failure. He didn't understand this one truth. Life is not a race. Everyone is on a different road. Some reach early, some reach later. But everyone has a different destination. But no one had ever told him that. He thought he had to be like Liam. He thought he had to look like Chris. He thought he had to live like Mason. And every day, he lost a little more of himself. He lost his smile. He lost his joy. He lost his belief that he was worthy of love, success, or attention. He didn't want to be Ethan. He just wanted to be someone else. One night, he looked at the ceiling in the dark and whispered, why am I even here? What's the use of trying if I'll never be the best? Why was I made this way? He wasn't angry. He wasn't loud. He was just empty. And that's what comparison does. It doesn't just make you jealous. It makes you feel invisible. It tells you, you're behind. You're late. You're not good enough. You're nothing. And if you believe that for too long, you start to disappear inside. Part 2. The breaking point. Ethan was falling, but no one saw it. That's how silent comparison is. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It hides behind fake smiles and fake laughs. He still went to school, still nodded during class, still submitted his homework. But something inside him was missing. His spirit, his light, his identity. Every morning he woke up with a question. Why even try? Why try when someone else is already better? Why run a race that he already felt he had lost? Why be Ethan when no one notices Ethan? It was a Thursday, nothing special, nothing dramatic. But sometimes the biggest changes begin in the most normal moments. That day, Ethan forgot to pack his lunch, so he decided to sit alone on a bench near the back wall of the school building, a quiet place where no one usually went. While sitting there, he heard two boys laughing, far away. It was Liam and Chris, the perfect boys, the ones who had everything Ethan didn't. They were talking, joking, recording reels, and talking about their plans, parties, vacations, followers, fun. And Ethan just sat there, hidden behind the wall, listening, not with hatred, but with something more dangerous. Hopelessness. He whispered to himself, "They're living. I'm just existing. They're chosen. I'm forgotten. They're ahead. I'm stuck." That night, Ethan didn't eat dinner. He told his mom he had a headache. He went to his room, shut the door, and sat in the dark. He stared at the wall for hours. Thoughts started spinning in his mind like a storm. I'll never be successful. Even my parents expect more from me. I'm just average. That's all I'll ever be. No one sees me. No one understands me. Then he remembered something. When he was younger, maybe 8 or 9 years old, he once drew a rocket ship and told his mom, "One day I'll fly high." He smiled for a second, but then the smile disappeared, because now, at 17, he didn't even believe he could leave the ground. At 11 p.m., Ethan left the house. No one saw him. He quietly stepped outside, put on his hoodie, and started walking. It wasn't a plan. It was pain. He just wanted silence. The road was empty. The wind was cold. The sky was full of stars. But Ethan never looked up. He just walked, and walked, and walked, until he reached an old, broken bus stop. There was no one there, just silence, and an old mirror, cracked, dirty, and forgotten, hanging on a nearby wall. It was probably used by shopkeepers years ago. Ethan stood in front of it, and for the first time in a long time, he looked directly into his own eyes. He didn't see a boy. He didn't see strength. He didn't see potential. He saw failure, disappointment, weakness, and suddenly all the pain he had buried inside came out. He whispered, "Why can't I be like them? Why am I like this? Why wasn't I made better? Why am I me?" He paused. Tears filled his eyes. And then he said something that no one had ever said to him. Not his teachers, not his parents, not his friends. "I hate being me." Those 4 words. That was the breaking point. That was the moment he truly felt lost. Because when you hate yourself, when you compare yourself so deeply that you start to believe you have no value, you lose more than confidence. You lose your connection to life. And in that one sentence, he felt everything. The years of silent pain, the feeling of being unseen, the guilt of not being enough, the pressure to become someone else. He sat on the cold bench near the mirror and cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just broken. The kind of crying that doesn't need sound, just pain. After some time, a voice came from behind. An old man, thin, gray beard, holding a small lantern. He had seen Ethan from his window. "Are you okay?" the man asked softly. Ethan wiped his face and said the same lie he always told. "Yeah, I'm fine." But the man smiled gently and said something Ethan would never forget. "You know that mirror you're looking into? It's broken. So whatever you see in it isn't the truth. Maybe you're seeing yourself through the wrong glass." Ethan paused. The old man looked into his eyes and said, "Son, don't believe everything you think, especially when your mind is filled with comparisons. You were never meant to live their story. You were meant to write your own." Then he turned and walked away. Just like that. No lecture, no sermon, just wisdom. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept hearing that one line. Maybe you're seeing yourself through the wrong glass. Was he? Maybe he wasn't weak. Maybe he wasn't late. Maybe he wasn't worthless. Maybe he was just using the wrong mirror. The mirror of Instagram, the mirror of perfect classmates, the mirror of society's expectations, the mirror of timelines and trophies and trends, and all those mirrors were broken. He had never looked at his own mirror, the one that shows who he is, not who others are. That night, a seed was planted. He wasn't healed. Not yet. But something in him had changed. He still had questions. But now, he was finally ready to find answers. Part 3. The Wake-Up Moment. The next morning, Ethan woke up before his alarm. That had never happened before. Usually, he hated mornings. Mornings reminded him that another day of comparison was waiting for him. Another day of watching others move forward while he felt stuck. But this morning felt different. Not happy. Not confident. Just quiet. His mind wasn't shouting like before. The old man's words were still there, gently repeating in his head. "You're seeing yourself through the wrong glass." Ethan sat on the edge of his bed and asked himself a question he had never asked before. What if I stop looking at others? Just for one day. Not forever. Not for life. Just one day. On the way to school, Ethan noticed something strange. Nothing had changed. The same road, the same buildings, the same people. But his attention had changed. For the first time, he wasn't scanning the world to see who was better than him. He wasn't thinking, who has more money? Who looks better? Who is ahead? He was simply walking. And in that silence, he realized something painful and powerful. Comparison had been stealing his energy, not other people, not his circumstances. Comparison. Every thought like, they are better than me. I'm late. I'm behind. Was draining him. It wasn't that Ethan had no potential. It was that he was using all his strength to measure himself against others, instead of building himself. That day in class, the teacher asked a simple question. Ethan knew the answer. He hesitated. Normally, he would stay quiet. Because Liam always raised his hand first. Because someone else always sounded smarter. Because Ethan believed his voice didn't matter. But this time, he remembered the mirror. The broken mirror. And he thought, what if my voice doesn't need to be the best? It just needs to be mine. Slowly, his hand went up. The class went silent. The teacher nodded. Ethan spoke. His voice shook a little. His words weren't perfect, but he answered honestly. The teacher smiled. Good thinking, she said. 2 simple words. But for Ethan, They felt heavy, not because they were big, but because no one had said that to him in a long time. And something inside him whispered, maybe I'm not invisible. That evening, Ethan sat alone again, but this time, not in pain. He opened a notebook. On the first page, he wrote, "Things I compare myself about." The list was long. Grades, looks, money, friends, confidence, life progress. Then on the next page, he wrote something new. Things I can control. That list was shorter. Effort, learning, habits, discipline, honesty with myself, consistency, and suddenly, something became clear. He had been comparing results without respecting process. He was angry at himself for not having a future that others had built over years. He was blaming himself for not being at a place he had never truly worked toward, because he was too busy watching others. That night, Ethan learned a powerful truth. You are not late. You are just early in your own story. Ethan asked himself something that changed everything. If no one was watching, who would I want to become? Not his parents, not society, not social media, just him. The answer came slowly. I want to be stronger, not for approval, but for respect. I want to learn, not to win, but to grow. I want to build something, even if no one claps. That was the first time his dreams were not borrowed from someone else. They were his. Ethan realized something dangerous about comparison. When you compare yourself, you disconnect from your own path, you ignore your own growth, you forget your own story. He understood now. The moment you compare, you stop listening to yourself. And when you stop listening to yourself, you lose direction. That's why comparison feels painful. Not because others are winning, but because you're walking away from who you are. Before sleeping, Ethan made a small promise. Not a dramatic one. Just this. I will stop asking why I am not like them. I will start asking how I can be better than yesterday. That promise didn't change his life overnight, but it changed something more important. His direction. He was no longer chasing others. He was finally facing himself. Nothing magical happened after that. No applause, no sudden success. But something invisible had shifted. Ethan no longer hated himself. He no longer wished to disappear. He still felt fear, still felt doubt. But now, he also felt ownership. And that is dangerous in the best way. Because once a person takes ownership of their life, comparison loses its power. Part 4. The Final Rise. Months had passed. Ethan was no longer the boy who sat quietly in the back of the class, comparing his life with everyone else. But he wasn't a star either. He wasn't a topper. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. He was something much more powerful than all of that. He was free. His classmates still had new phones. Chris still looked like a model. Liam still topped the class. Sophia still laughed with someone else. But Ethan didn't feel small anymore. He didn't feel behind. He didn't feel late. He didn't feel invisible. Because he had finally understood something the world never teaches. You don't need to be the best version of someone else. You just need to become the real version of yourself. And when you do that, you win a game most people don't even know they're playing. Let's be honest, Ethan didn't become successful overnight. He didn't wake up one day and suddenly become confident. It took time. It took effort. And it took pain. But he made small changes. Every single day. He built silent discipline. He didn't shout about his goals. He just started waking up earlier, studying better, eating healthier. He wasn't showing it off. He was building it in silence, because he knew now. Comparison looks loud, but transformation is quiet. He stopped watching others like a fan. Instead of scrolling through other people's lives for hours, he started writing his thoughts, practicing skills, learning something useful. Every time he felt jealous, he asked, "What can I learn from this instead?" That changed everything. He turned jealousy into inspiration, and inspiration into action. He accepted himself fully. He stopped saying, "I wish I looked like him. I wish I was born rich. I wish I had more followers." Instead, he started saying, "This is my story. Let me write it well. I may not be there yet, but I'm getting better. I don't need to shine for others. I need to live for myself." He still had insecurities, but now he had ownership too. It was the last week of school. A talent competition was announced. Ethan's heart beat faster when he heard it, not because he wanted to win, but because years ago he used to write songs and never shared them. Back then, he didn't feel good enough. He thought, "What's the point? Others are better." But this time was different. He wasn't trying to win. He just wanted to show up for himself. So he signed up, wrote a simple original song, and on the final day, he stood on stage, alone, hands shaking. The room was full. He took a deep breath and remembered, "Your voice doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours." And he began. His voice cracked in the first few lines. Some people whispered, some laughed quietly, but he kept going. And by the end, the room was silent, not because he was the best, but because he was real. When he finished, there was a pause, and then applause. Real, raw, respectful. For the first time, Ethan felt seen, not as a copy of someone else, but as himself. He didn't win the competition. Liam did, and Ethan smiled with full heart when Liam got the prize. Because now, he understood something the old Ethan never could. When someone else shines, it doesn't make you dim. When someone else wins, it doesn't mean you've lost. You don't need a spotlight. You just need to walk your path. And his path had finally begun. That night, as he sat on his bed with a small notebook, Ethan wrote one final line. "I'm not here to compete. I'm here to become." And that was it. No awards, no viral posts, no dramatic ending, just peace. And peace, my friend, is the loudest kind of success. Maybe you're Ethan right now. Maybe you're always comparing your body with someone else's fitness journey, your job with someone else's business, your marks with someone else's rank, your life with someone else's story. And maybe, just like Ethan, you're forgetting that your value isn't measured by comparison. You were not born to follow someone else's timeline. You are not behind. You are on your path. The more you watch others, the more you'll miss your own life. But the moment you stop comparing, you'll finally hear your own voice. And that voice is your power. Let this be the message that changes your mindset forever. You were never meant to be like them. You were meant to become the fullest version of you. And the day you stop comparing is the day you start living. So walk your path, not louder, not faster, just truer, because the world doesn't need another copy. The world needs you. I will no longer compare my chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 10. I will no longer compare my body, my mind, or my story to anyone else's. I will build in silence. I will grow slowly. I will stop seeking applause. I will start seeking alignment, because I am not here to impress the world. I am here to become the person I was born to be. And that is the most powerful success of all. Now you've listened to Ethan's story. You saw how comparison slowly destroyed his peace, his confidence, and his happiness. But a story alone is not enough. Now it's time to learn how you can stop comparing yourself, step by step. These steps are simple, practical, and permanently impactful. If you apply them honestly, your mindset will never be the same again. Step 1. Become aware of when you're comparing. Before you can stop comparison, you need to first catch it when it's happening. Most people don't even realize how often they compare themselves. It becomes automatic. You scroll on Instagram. Someone looks happier, richer, more successful. And suddenly, without thinking, a thought appears. They're ahead of me. I'm not doing enough. I wish I had their life. And in just 1 second, your energy drops, your motivation disappears, your peace is stolen. That's what comparison does. It's silent, but it's destructive. It's not loud like anger. It's not visible like sadness. It's invisible. It lives in your thoughts, and it grows stronger when you don't notice it. So what's the solution? Start building the habit of catching yourself. Every time you feel that sinking feeling in your stomach, pause. Ask, am I comparing right now? Why do I feel behind? Whose life am I measuring mine against? Write it down if needed. Once you become aware, you regain control. Comparison can only grow in the dark. But the moment you shine a light on it, it loses its power. This one habit, noticing comparison in real time, will begin to change how you think, speak, and live. Without awareness, you'll be a slave to comparison. With awareness, you start to become free. Step 2. Understand that social media is not real life. Let's be honest. We don't just compare ourselves with our classmates or neighbors anymore. Now we compare ourselves with the entire world. People with perfect bodies. People traveling in private jets. Teenagers making millions. Models, influencers, billionaires, actors. Couples who look like they're always in love. Entrepreneurs who never seem to fail. And we see it all on our phones. Every scroll is a new reminder of someone doing better than you. But ask yourself, are they really better? Or are they just showing you what they want you to see? Because social media is not the truth. It's a carefully edited movie. People don't post their pain. They don't post their failures. They don't post their anxiety attacks at 2 a.m. They don't post the loans they're drowning in. They don't post the loneliness they feel in the crowd. They only post what looks good. You are comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel. Of course, it feels like you're behind. Because you're comparing your full story, including the hard parts, to a filtered moment of their story. It's not fair. It's like comparing your unfiltered face in the mirror to a photoshopped magazine cover and wondering why you're not enough. So what should you do? Be aware of your scrolling time. Follow people who inspire you, not people who make you feel small. Take regular breaks. Use social media to learn and grow, not to compare and shrink. And most of all, remind yourself. Real life is not measured in likes, views, followers, or filters. Real life is what you build when no one is watching. Step 3. Replace comparison with curiosity. Now that you're aware of your comparison triggers, now that you know social media isn't real, here's the next powerful step. Don't just stop comparing. Replace it. Because if you just try to stop comparing without replacing it with something better, your mind will go back to the old habit. And the best replacement is this. Turn comparison into curiosity. When you see someone doing better than you, don't say, "They're better than me. I wish I had what they have. I hate myself." Say this instead. How did they get there? What can I learn from them? What habits do they have that I can try? What's one small thing I can do today to grow? This is called healthy curiosity. It turns jealousy into motivation. It turns someone else's success into your inspiration, not your pain. The people you compare yourself to are not your enemies. They can become your teachers. But only if you stop asking, "Why not me?" and start asking, "How can I grow?" Let their journey be a map, not a weapon. Let their success remind you of what's possible, not of what's missing. The most successful people in the world don't waste energy on envy. They use that energy to improve. And so can you. Step 4. Define success for yourself, or the world will do it for you. Most people compare themselves with others because they don't actually know what they want. They just follow what the world shows them. The world says, you should look a certain way. You should earn a certain amount. You should have a certain number of followers. You should be married by this age. You should own this, buy that, be this. And without realizing, you start chasing a life that isn't even yours. You feel behind, not because you are, but because you're running on someone else's track. So here's your task. Pause and define your own version of success. Ask yourself, what does a happy life look like for me? What kind of work gives me peace? What kind of relationships do I want? What would make me proud, even if no one clapped? Because when you have no definition of your own, you will compare yourself with everyone. But once you define success on your terms, comparison becomes irrelevant. If someone wants to be a doctor and you want to be a filmmaker, you can't compare the same calendar, the same salary, the same speed. They're living their story. You're living yours. Imagine someone comparing a tree and a river. It's nonsense. One is meant to stand. The other is meant to flow. You don't need to be better than someone else. You just need to be exactly what you were meant to be. And you can only do that when you define success for yourself. Step 5. Learn from the cow who stopped chasing the peacock. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, in a green village, there lived a simple cow. She gave milk. She was loved by the farmers. Children played around her. She was peaceful. But one day, she saw a peacock dancing in the rain. Bright feathers, shiny colors, a crowd watching and clapping. And suddenly, the cow felt small. Look at me. I'm boring. I'm plain. Everyone claps for the peacock. No one claps for me. So she started walking differently. Tried to swing her tail like the peacock's feathers. Tried to dance in the mud. Even tried to stop giving milk because she thought it wasn't special. The result? She got sick. No one came close to her. She felt useless. And the farmer, confused, sat beside her and asked, "Why are you trying to become something you're not?" The cow said, "Because no one cheers for me. I want to be seen." The farmer smiled and said, "You were never meant to dance. You were meant to nurture, to give, to nourish, to sustain life. The peacock dances for beauty. You live for purpose." That night, the cow stopped trying to be a peacock. She gave milk again, and the entire village came back, not with applause, but with gratitude. The lesson? When you try to become someone else, you lose your value. In today's world, many people are trying to be peacocks, beautiful, shiny, loud. But the world also needs cows. Calm, quiet, valuable. So stop chasing what looks exciting and start owning what makes you useful, real, and you. Step 6. Measure progress, not position. Imagine two people climbing a mountain. One started at 8 a.m., one started at 10 a.m. Now they're at different heights. Does that mean the second person is a failure? Of course not. He simply started later. And maybe he's climbing a steeper path. But here's what most people do. They look at someone who started earlier, had a head start, had fewer obstacles, and then feel worthless because they're not there yet. Stop measuring where you are. Start measuring how far you've come. Ask, am I doing better than I did last month? Am I more focused than last year? Am I healing, growing, trying? That's what matters. Let me give you a real-life example. Two boys are learning English. Boy A speaks fluently in 6 months. Boy B still struggles with confidence after 1 year. But boy B came from a background where no one ever spoke English, where he had to study in silence, where he had no support, where he had to work full-time and learn late at night. So who's more behind? Neither, because their journey, effort, pain, and story are not the same. Success is not a line. It's not a race. It's a personal mission. So instead of saying, look at how far ahead they are, start saying, look at how far I've come from who I used to be. That's real growth. And that's the only comparison that's allowed. Step 7. Learn the truth about everyone you admire. Let's say you admire someone. A classmate who always looks confident. A businessman who drives a BMW. A model on Instagram with flawless skin. A singer with millions of followers. A speaker who lights up the stage. They look perfect. They look lucky. They look unstoppable. But here's what you don't see. Everyone you admire is fighting a battle you don't know about. The confident classmate may be fighting depression at home. The businessman may be drowning in debt and fake smiles. The model may be full of self-hate and body issues. The singer may be lonely, addicted, or anxious. The speaker may cry after every event, wondering if he's enough. Because nobody shows their full life, not even the most open people. So when you compare your full truth to their best moment, you are comparing your reality to their performance. That's why you feel less. But remember this, you don't need to trade your truth for someone else's mask. You don't know what they're carrying, but you know what you are becoming. And that's more powerful than perfection. Step 8. Train your brain to say, good for them, now back to me. Jealousy is normal, but staying there is optional. It's okay if you feel triggered when someone else wins. It's okay if your chest feels tight when you see someone doing what you dream of. You're human. But here's what to do in that moment. Don't attack them. Don't attack yourself. Just whisper, good for them. Now back to me. Say it every time. It's simple, but it's powerful. You see someone buy a new car. Good for them. Now back to me. You see someone speak fluent English? Good for them. Now back to me. You see someone achieve what you want. Good for them. Now back to me. This simple sentence does 2 things. 1. It removes bitterness. 2. It brings your focus back home, to your own growth. Remember, success is not cake. Just because someone has a slice doesn't mean there's none left for you. So next time someone shines, don't shrink, clap for them, and keep building your own light. Because real confidence is quietly competitive, not loudly jealous. Step 9. Fall in love with the long road. Here's a truth you must accept. Real growth takes time. Deep confidence takes time. Self-respect takes time. But comparison makes you want it all now. You see someone's body after 3 years of gym and want it in 3 weeks. You see someone's fluency after 5 years of practice and get frustrated after 5 days. You see someone's business after 10 failures and want to succeed with no risk. That's not how greatness works. Success is not a microwave. It's not instant. It's a slow fire. It burns quietly. It shapes you in silence. And when it's ready, it shows. So here's your mindset shift. Don't fall in love with results. Fall in love with becoming. Because when you fall in love with the long road, you stop comparing your day 17 to someone else's day 700. Your journey is not late. It's just unfolding. So walk slowly. Walk with grace. Walk with courage. And don't quit just because it's taking time. Remember this: the longer it takes, the stronger it builds. Step 10. Embrace the fact that you were never meant to be like anyone else. You are different, and that's not a flaw. That's the design. God didn't make you a copy. He made you a creation. Different voice, different timing, different looks, different story. You keep asking, why don't I look like them? Why am I not as fast? Why didn't I get what they got? But you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, why don't you see what's already inside you? But remember, nobody has everything, and nobody is perfect. Not even the people you worship. Everyone lacks something. Everyone hides something. Everyone struggles with something. But the strongest ones are those who stop chasing sameness and start building themselves. You were never meant to walk their path. You were never meant to speak their way. You were never meant to win their game. You were meant to build your own world. That's why your voice sounds different. That's why your timing feels different. That's why your spirit hurts when you try to become like someone else. Because you weren't made for imitation. You were made for transformation. Say this out loud, every day. I don't compare, I become. I don't copy, I create. I don't hate, I build. I don't rush, I rise. I don't shrink, I shine. I don't need to be like them. I need to become more of me. And never forget, God loves you. That's why He made you in a different way. He gave you your own voice, your own heart, your own mind. Because you were never meant to be like anyone else. You're not too late. You're not behind. You're just becoming. So trust the timing. And walk your path with pride. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever struggled with comparison, if you want to find peace, confidence, and self-worth again, then let this story live inside you. And before you go, subscribe to our channel. Because this story didn't just teach you a life lesson, it also improved your English. And next time you feel like you're not enough, remember this story. You were always enough. You just forgot. Let's never forget again.